Hello everybody, it's me, TONIK TZW, and we see a lot of stuff going on in the various groups about the Ark Royal and how OP it is at tier 5 and that it should be moved up. And trust me, I think that might be a good thing because, believe it or not, this is an Ark Royal in tier 7. And what kind of black magic is this? But I'll tell you what kind of black magic it is. The black magic is Matchmaker, and it is fail divisions where people are queuing with tier 5 and tier 6. And I was certain that with a tier 5 carrier, they would always be pulled down into a 5-6 match, not up into a 6-7 match. And if anybody doesn't think that the Ark Royal is OP, then yeah, I think this match pretty much says it all, because it's not underpowered at tier 7. Let's just say that. I've been working on my grind from the tier 7 Xianyang up to finish unlocking another tier 8, and this boat is quite a decent boat, but it's nowhere near as good as many of the other boats at the same tier, I'm afraid. It is hampered by only having deep water torpedoes, and at that they are very slow deep water torpedoes, and at any kind of range the spread of those torpedoes is wider than a whore's legs. But you do get torpedo reload boosters, and that makes it a little bit more fun and can cause a little bit of calamity. But as I said, that slow speed, you know, it just seems to take forever to get those torpedoes anywhere, and ships can change direction, should I say, 10 times before your torpedoes actually reach them. And what you've got to hope for is that in one of those 10 turns that they make, that they actually turn back in towards those torpedoes. And because there's a carrier in the match, I didn't actually look at the team sheet at the start. It wasn't until a little bit later that I realised what was going on. Normally I take a good look at the team sheet before I start, but I did flick it up. I saw there's an Ostergotland out there, and I know that's very fast torpedoes, very much a gunboat, and although you do have quite a reasonable reload on these guns, they don't pack really a huge punch. And it also didn't help that my aim was a little bit off, because the shells are quite floaty as well, so they don't seem as punchy and they don't seem as quick as other gunboats. Now, the reason I've pushed wide on this flank is because I know that ships love to come around the back end of that island and stack up and contest the cap. I did realise the cap was being turned very early on, which means that there's a destroyer out there too, but I don't know what it is now, and I'm hoping that perhaps our aircraft carrier would go and spot. Now, what I did think is perhaps those two divisions are both in the same party chat, and that perhaps they're playing together in carrier matches. And I'll explain a little bit later on why I think that is the case. So I'm wide. There we go. The Ignis is turning into the cap here. I can see there's two other battleships pushing into the cap, and I'm going to slam all of my torpedoes straight towards the middle of that cap. Now, I was expecting to perhaps pick up a couple of torpedo hits. I know that one of the battleships out there has sonar. At least one of the battleships has sonar, should I say, and that they would probably be expecting torpedoes coming towards them. I've got around a minute and a half reload on these torpedoes because I'm not using the torpedo launchers mod. I'm using the main battery mod. But there we go, the torpedoes start slamming in. As we look in, literally those ships are all of a panic trying to get out of the way of those. They've got a 600-meter detection on them at the moment, so they don't get a huge amount of time to get out of the way, but with the slow speed it does mean that they can see them coming and have time to react. So there we go. We get first blood and a dev strike. We're on 95,000 damage, barely a few minutes into the game, 4 minutes into the game. So that wasn't a bad start, to be honest. But really, I feel that that's as good as this game got, because after this it's going to get much more difficult, and at some stage we are actually going to zip through a hell of a lot of this game, because I just spend it running. As you can see there, the Ark Royal is coming out after me. He's got spotter planes dropped there, and I'm going to have to run. And you're thinking, well, why aren't you turning your AA off, TONIK? Because then he wouldn't be able to spot you or drop bombs on you. One thing that this destroyer does have is reasonable AA, and so while that battleship is out there, or was out there, we could see those planes and we could shoot them down, but he just got deleted. Now I'm stuffed, because if you can see that there's a cruiser there in the middle of the map, behind B cap, that's the Belfast radar cruiser. Would have been very, very helpful on this side of the map, but guess what? He's AFK. And I'm not one to sit in my smoke for too long, but here we go. Here comes the Ark Royal. Those absolutely screaming torpedoes tell me that the Gotland is behind me, and there is the first hit. I have to damage control, perhaps a panic button pressed there, because I know he's going to come round again, and I'm making a beeline for this island, and was hoping perhaps that Belfast might come to life at some point and give me a hand. But there we go, just the sheer amount of bombs coming down off that Ark Royal, and you can see I'm knocking those planes down out of the sky, but it is just absolutely overwhelming with the squadrons that the Ark Royal has. And I think you can probably have the best AA in the game, and that carrier is still going to get through and drop some bombs on you. So I realised that the only thing I've got, given that the rest of the team have all gone the other way around the map, including the carrier, we've lost the Iowa, the Belfast is dead in the water, there's only me across here, I'm going to run. So we are literally going to kite this Zeton, and we can see that we're located, so the Gotland is trailing us as well, and we are literally going to just run to the other side of the map and get away from it, because I think if nobody is going to provide me any level of support, including our own carrier, then I'm sorry, but I am not going to sit here with my butt in the breeze waiting for that carrier to come over. You can see that I've got the Gotland out detected, but I can't take him on in the gunfight. I'm at what, 40% health. We do land another torpedo on the Zeton, which puts us up to just under 114,000 damage, and we'll get to the bit where I think that the carrier is in cahoots with the division on our team, because it was this play over the next couple of minutes that really had me suspicious about this. So I was going to go behind the island. I figured I'll try and get some hits on this Zeton before he disappears, maybe start a fire. We've got a smoke screen available. We pop some shots over. There is the Gotland. We're going to drop our smoke. We get a fire, and that starts ticking on the Zeton, and that's going to keep my damage ticking. Now you'll see that we have got another blue team destroyer there, and he's way down to the south side of the map, and I think literally he's chasing the aircraft carrier. The entire team seems to have been chasing the carrier and just has no concern at all for what else is going on anywhere else in the map. I was incredibly frustrated, and I thought, well, I'm going to die anyway. I'm just going to see what I can do with this OG. And the OG takes out another one of our ships with torpedoes. I get them on fire. We're going to disappear behind here. We're down to probably 20% health now, if that. But I am now probably the furthest ship away, apart from the carrier, from Red Team and their carrier. Now, at least one of those battleships that's down there is in division with our carrier. And yet, even though they're closer to a risk to the Ostergotland and the Zeton, and probably Red Team's carrier, the Ark Royal is going to come all the way across the map past them so that he can attack me. And I imagine it might be because I absolutely bitch slapped two of his friends earlier in the game. But there's the OG. I'm spotted by the carrier. There's nothing I can really do here. I know he's got 3 runs, all these bombs. I'm not going to survive. The best I can do is twist and turn. I've used my damage control just so that I can try and get some fire onto this Ostergotland and whittle him down a bit before I disappear from the game. There we go, the battleships are onto him, and as I said, that carrier ignored everything else on the map for the sake of coming after me, and there wasn't really much that I could do. But here we go, we're going to drop from this game any second now, and that's it. So the OG picks up the kill, but as you can see there, that Ark Royal, even though I shot down 12 planes in that mad run across the map, we are up on points. We are going to push this through with a minute left to play. The Ostergotland has got nothing left on him. Why that battleship is sailing towards him, I don't know, because I can't see that our carrier has any planes up that might be spotting him. Our Friesland is still running around the map chasing their carrier, and even though this Ostergotland is broadside in open water firing his guns, neither of these guys are going to be able to land a shot. And yeah, it was disappointing, but there we go. Our Friesland finally has their carrier spotted after 14.5 minutes. Yeah, job well done. But we on 136,000 damage. We picked up High Cal, First Blood, and Dev Strike, which, you know, is pretty astounding given that we spent a lot of this game running away from things. Not normally something I like to do, but I know when to pick my battles. So there is the final tally sheet. I was running a double XP booster on this just to help me get through this grind. 9 torpedo hits, 9 floods. That's not a bad average really, is it? 100% for hits and floods. We finished top of the board with 26 and 95 base XP. The Friesland finishes second, surprisingly, and there's our Belfast, who is at the bottom. But there you go, the Ark Royal finishes second for Red Team. So it was more than capable of being able to handle itself at tier 7 and take me as a tier 7 destroyer to task with all those bomb runs. Does it need to be nerfed? Possibly, potentially. Can Wargaming do anything about it? No, they can't. So we're stuck with it for now. I really do hope you've enjoyed watching this one. Not my best game, but certainly not my worst, and there'll be a few more to come. Stay tuned, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and leave me a comment on what you think of the Ark Royal. Stick around, click one of these links and watch another video, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and goodbye.